We are here at Seven Sun Brewing. I'm here with Devon.
Hi.
And you are the GM? Or owner, everything, the whole night. Wow. Yeah, all right, so I gotta start the podcast this way with everybody. How'd you get into the beer game?
Basically, I grew up in Michigan, and so I was exposed to Bell's beer at a pretty,
Sure.
at a ripe age. I don't know, young age. I don't know. Anyways, I had that. Oberon was one of the first beers I ever had, and I loved it. And I don't know, I just was passionate about it. Then I figured out that I could get a degree in college for it. Yeah, Oregon State has a fermentation science program.
Cool.
And so when I found that out, I was like, this is perfect because, it kind of marries two things that I love, which is science and creativity,
Absolutely.
things like that.
So were you a big fan of chemistry going through school?
Not necessarily chemistry so much. I'm definitely more interested in the microbiological side of
Sure, yeah, like bacteria. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I had to take a lot of chemistry in college, but
Sure, yeah.
yeah.
I did notice from doing all these that organic chemistry plays, which is very unfortunate for you all, but plays a very big part in the brewing aspect. Did you take that course and do you apply that? Because when I took it, I was like, I'm never gonna apply this to anything that I do. But is it very applicable to this?
Honestly, it's not a ton because a lot of, I mean, yes, we had to learn it all, but getting a brew concocted on the hot side, it doesn't. You don't need to know that stuff to get it done.
Okay.
The microbiological side is much more critical for the process, just because that's going to equate to whether or not you have a clean beer, if you're pitching correctly, like yeast and all of these things. So, that end of it to me is a more important part of the process. The stuff that's the chemistry behind it, it's been kind of laid out. And, back when they first started making beer, they didn't know any of that stuff. So, it was really happening magically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And what brought you to Florida?
So basically the beautiful, weather and the fact that there weren't a lot of breweries here, craft beer. At the time I moved here at the end of 2009. And so there was very few breweries in the state. I think maybe 100. And that's brew pubs, everything. That was when hops was still around and that was kind of dying out. And anyway, so yeah, now there's, I think, at least 100 in the Tampa Bay area.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And what got you started, or when was it I want to start a brewery?
Really is the minute that I found out that Oregon State had that program. I was I always kind of had an entrepreneurial spirit too.
Cool.
I think I knew that I wanted to sort of make my own destiny in that way. So, so yeah, that was my goal from the get with that, was to open my own brewery.
Definitely. All right, cool. So Seven Sun Brewing, how'd you stumble upon the name? How'd you get started in Dunedin?
Yeah, Dunedin was sort of a happy accident. I was really thinking Tampa more when I, was first going to move here, so that's the big city everybody knows.
Definitely.
But then I'd heard about just, looking into the area, Dunedin Brewery, of course, they're the oldest microbrewery in the state. So, had, of course, come check that out. And when I visited out here, it was this is a paradise, this little town. It's awesome. So, the original plan was also to open a large production facility, but this was right after the housing bubble. So it was impossible to get any kind of bank loans, things like that. So had to sort of readjust the plan and scale it down.
Yeah.
And back in that time, a nano brewery was kind of a new concept. This equipment that we're sitting in front of right here, this was one of the first, not the first, but in the first runs of stout tanks and equipment that they were making back in the day. So I'd never heard of a system this small at the time. It's 3.5 barrels. So anyways, kind of just a readjustment, and Dunedin was a beautiful place. And so I wanted to land here. And then I apologize, I forgot the other part of your question.
No, it's okay. I'm actually going to steer with, Dunedin's exploding right now as breweries, microbreweries, nano breweries, you name it. How do you guys feel like you have kind of built the culture? Because you're one of the staples here in Dunedin. How do you feel that you all have steered the rest of these breweries that are popping up everywhere?
I know that, and it's not necessarily for ones in Dunedin per se, but just in general in Tampa Bay. We were one of the first breweries, along with, I think, Cigar City Cycle. There was a couple other places doing sour beers and Brother Weiss. People didn't really know what that was back then. So we were playing around with the process of kettle souring all from scratch. That science existed. We just didn't know that it was there. And so we were kind of messing around with that. And that was a new thing for people. So people coming in, even for like my mom, and, she's a wine drinker. She wasn't a big beer drinker. She had her first sour beer. She was like, I love this, So
It's definitely a gateway for a lot of people.
yeah. So like I know, Arcane, they're big on sours. They have never told me this, but I'm hoping that we are some inspiration to them in some ways, just because we were doing the sours. And another thing too we did was a donut beer back in the day. That was pretty.
How does that work?
Basically, you just shove a bunch of donuts into the beer, like one is finished, and you let it sit on the donuts for a few days, and then it tastes like donuts, and that's delicious. Yeah, so people went crazy for it. We actually auctioned off the very first beer. 3 people bought into it. It was like $100 or something. I gave it to charity. So
That's awesome.
it was actually Joey Redner from Cigar City, Zach Schuster, who ended up eventually being an employee of mine, who worked at Cigar City at the time, and then Justin Clark, who was also an employee at Cigar City. So there's a lot of support, in the community, which was very cool.
Absolutely. So starting 7 Sun, what was your culture? What did you want your culture to be when you got started, and how do you feel like it's kind of grown into what it is today?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know how solid my vision of was that. I wanted it to be constantly kind of unique and like always exploring new things and like, embodying some of the sort of, culture by the water. We're really close to the water, so I wanted some of that Florida vibes.
Totally.
But ultimately it's been it's sort of evolved into its own thing, and this place specifically has become sort of like the cheers of this area. We have a very strong like group of regulars that come consistently, or they're almost like a family. It's really cool. But then the game, like the thing for me is still then playing around, doing new things, always trying to find something new and weird. I know that things have changed a lot, the hazies and like hard seltzers, gluten-free sours, all these things. I'm not like, I'm not going to do that. That's new, like I want to mess with it. So I've been doing a lot of that too.
Oh, cool. So are you guys, because we talked about this in a podcast we did a while back, about how breweries right now are exploding into all these different aspects, because I feel like social media has played a big role in exploring kombucha, exploring CBD.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like equipment to do that stuff here? I feel like it kind of all coincides a bit.
Yeah, I haven't done the kombucha, but we do a CBD seltzer.
Cool.
That's a non-alcoholic. And in fact, so I did have a second location at one point. Unfortunately, COVID crushed it, so I had to close it. But I never made one at this location. I'd only ever made it there. So I actually just made my very first batch at this location.
Wow, cool.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So how many like brewers do you guys have here? Are you the only one?
Yeah, it's just me. Okay. So we do contract some of our beer, and in fact, it's at our old location in Tampa.
Okay.
And the brewery that took over there is Magnanimous, and actually a couple of the people that are involved used to work at 7 Sun.
Oh, nice.
And one of them even helped develop one of our most popular beers, which is Headbanger. Yeah. So they're actually producing like our core beers at our old location, which is now their new location, Awesome, in Seminole Heights in Tampa. And that's just a graffiti orange, Headbanger, Control Freak, and Mangrove. And then I brew everything else here.
So, all right. You're busy.
I am.
I would say so. Now, the growth of the industry, it seems, is turning into more of the entertainment, right? Like all these jurors, you got to have this, you got to have trivia, and you got to have this, that, and the other. What do you feel like you guys are doing different? Because you guys have, it's not a huge space, but it like works.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you guys are keeping up with the competition? Because again, you're a staple here, you've been here forever.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you guys doing different than everybody else to say, hey, our beer is just like, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, for the things that are outside of the beer, that's definitely been new to us because, initially it was people would drive an hour to go get beer, but now there's so many more breweries, they're closer by, and that's just the nature of change, and the business changes, quickly. So you have to be able to adapt. One thing that I would say is kind of funny to all of us here is we were always like, we'll never get a TV, never, ever, ever. And now we have a TV over there. And it's still very like unobtrusive. We never wanted to be that place where it's like you go to the bar and everybody's staring at, sports. We want to create a culture of like, community and of, befriending new people. And, there's been relationships that have started here. Marriages have happened out of here. It's crazy. So we want that to be a part of who we are.
Absolutely.
But, people like sports and things. So we put it over like the way the location is set up is we have two basically units in a little strip mall. One side's more like the brewery side and the other side's the more the tap room side. And the brewery side is where we stuck the TV. So like that's one thing. And then we've been doing more kind of live music, which has been, that's something that you got to work within because we have such a tiny, weird space and it's all laid out all over the place. But it also works well because, if you're not into that, you can go to a different part of the brewery and not even have to hear it. Because we do karaoke once a month. So that was something that people were like, I don't know, but it's actually been a really fun thing. People have been enjoying it. And again, if you're not a fan, you don't have to be near it. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So another question is, being a solo brewer, I'm not a brewer, but if I was, I feel like I would definitely lean towards stuff I like to put on the menu.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you do that, or do you feel like you're like pretty in tune with, okay, we got to put this out there. I hate doing it. Like, how does that whole process go being a solo brewer?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of selfish about it, and I do kind of tend to do things that I like.
Hey, I'll read you a second.
Because it's, it's a lot of work, and, you like to drink what you make, So, but there's also, I'm pretty fortunate that there's very few things I don't like. So, smoky beers, I don't like smoky anything. So, like, I'm never going to make that. But thankfully, no one's, like, counting down the doors that. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I would say the only thing is, kind of having to make the same thing over and over in order to keep something on tap or whatever. You're kind of like, I wish I could play around. I only have so much. I can only make like one lager at a time because it takes up a lot of time in the tank. So I make a Helles, but I would love to play around with that. But you really need a light kind of lager on at all times. So, that's kind of one of those things like that. Yeah.
For sure. And so Dunedin seems also like everybody kind of works with each other brewery-wise.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you, being one of the staples here, have been able to like help other breweries kind of like find their way in the community?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, definitely just in the broader Tampa Bay area, I've definitely sat down with people who were like, I want to start a brewery. What do I do? What do you recommend? And so overall, that's great. It's part of one of the things I love about it. And I think that I hope that we've been helpful to people in town too. There's definitely like Caledonia, the owners of that brewery, like they used to come in here all the time. So I mean, like we never sat down and chatted about the business aspects of things, but we're friendly and y'all know that the door is open to each other. And also too, like we have a little group that's the Breweries of Dunedin. We all get together once a month. We talk about kind of what's happening in town, challenges that we're facing, things that we can do to help bring each other business. Woodwright Wing, that's another female,
emailing with that right now about doing a tasting there in a couple months.
Awesome, yeah, the beer's great. Yeah, I mean, everybody in town is great. Yeah, we just did a couple of collabs, and so that's been really fun.
Nice.
Because we have very different styles. She's more kind of traditional German style beers, and I'm more like not on top of sours. We're also known for kind of saisons, things like that. So we did a saison at her place. We did a Weizenbach here. I've never made a beer like that. So that was totally brand new to me. It was really cool. So things like that have been really fun too.
Yeah, right. Awesome. What's your favorite beer to brew? If you had the
True.
Yeah.
I'm like, so last year, the Oktoberfest, the Marsden that I made, I loved the way that turned out. So I mean, it makes the work of brewing more fun when it's like, oh, that was perfect, So, yeah, like things that are fun that are the result that aren't necessarily the most fun things to do are what we call treatments, which is like where we take finished product and then we'll take like a keg where you can literally lift the whole top out of it. You can put stuff into the keg and then put the beer on top, and you can make just one keg that's flavored like that tastes like that, whether it's fruit, whether it's ice cream powder, you name it, big jar of peanut butter. Like I have some of this on the shelves over here. So it's things like that, that are really fun and the end result, but to make them is like a lot of kind of tedious work.
Like I could imagine.
Yeah.
And so if you were to brew any beer that you have not done yet, flavor-wise, what style would you pick and what flavors would you choose that you think, wow, this would be insane, but if there's a adventurous spirit, they'd like it?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a really good question. Because I feel like we've done so many things. Like, I definitely haven't explored like some of those more old world traditional style things as much. I've done a lot in the like Saison and like French and Belgian kind of realm, but not as much in like the German and English style stuff.
So, yeah.
So I'm sorry, like not a particular thing is leaping to mind, but just sort of exploring some of those styles that I haven't delved into as much would be really fun for me, just to kind of learn about those processes a little bit more and, you know, seeing the outcome of what you make.
Definitely. So when you branch into a different culture of beer, I mean, is there like a guide for it? Do you have to go to other people, or do you just like say, all right, I know the basis of it, so I'm going to throw it in the tank and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just a matter of, you know, anytime I'm making something I haven't made before, it's a lot of online research. Sometimes there's books like, you know, there's before I made hard seltzer, I got like the hard seltzer book, you know, stuff like that helps you kind of along the way. But and then also, you know, having friends like Woodwright, Eunice at Woodwright, you know, going, hey, I want to make this, you know, what do you do? How should I do this? Yeah, so yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we appreciate you. We're going to do a tasting here tonight.
Excellent.
We're very excited for it. And ratings and stuff will be up soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Devon.